And this is now just to show you how to do it. In Project 3, we will be providing you with a web app. But, you know, here's just an example of how to create it and how it is done. And I suggest that you also do this yourself just to see how it is done. Right, so what we need to do is create a new project. Before we created a ASP.NET Core Web API, which means that you only then have the option of creating your controllers and your models. But now we are going to create an ASP.NET Core Web App, which means we are having the model view controller. The view is now added. So we are going to choose that. We are going to give it a name. I'm going to give it a name, and then we say next. I choose again, like before, .NET Core 3.1. In terms of the authentication, if you want to implement security on the application, we have three options to choose from. We have individual accounts, which means that you're going to have a database with usernames and passwords that you're going to be checking against. And this is similar to what we did in Project 2, only now it is going to be from the perspective of a client environment. You can choose Microsoft Identity Platform, which is the framework that Microsoft provides for you to use, and that's sort of our best practice. And then you can use Windows credentials that are the credentials that you use with which you are logged onto your computer. And that is for a very integrated environment. But for this purposes of this project, we are going to be making use of individual accounts, and we are going to create our application, our web app. This is essentially what we are going to be providing you with as well. So there I jump to my other screen, and there it goes. Okay, so let's have a look at what has been done for us. And it's already amazing to see, you know, how much work has already been completed. So when we are looking at our solution, what do we see? Okay, first of all, what dependencies have been provided for us? If I look here at our packages, you can see that ASP.NET Core Entity Framework, in other words, Identity Entity Framework, in other words, the security database that we want to use, like we had done before, this has already been added. We don't actually have to go and add this package into, and you can see there is the ASP.NET Core Identity UI, and yeah, then the database tools and so on have been added. So these things have already been added for me that I can make use of. I see here my root for my web application has been added, and so that tells me, you know, I've got cascading style sheets and whatever JavaScript that I want to add here. So it's a web application. I see that my controllers are here. So here you can see here is a home controller that is being defined for us here. You know, then you can see that I can have a view of what I want to do. I have data, which is now, in this case, it's only migration. So migrations have already been created for me. And here is my application DB context already for me. And your application DB context, in this case, can see it is inheriting from identity DB context. In other words, you know, that means it's a connection to the database that is going to be providing to me my security information. I have migrations that I'm going to run. And you can see, you know, what we see here when we are going to be creating it. I'm going to here see creating the identity role. You know, there are claims and, you know, identity user like we did before. So the script is already here. So remember now, you've just now generated a lot of stuff. Your database has not been created yet. So where will the database be stored? You know, the database be stored here. If you look in the app settings, there is your database connection. So this database connection, when you are doing your project, you'll have to replace it with an Azure connection string that we will provide to you. All of you are going to be using the same database on Azure, and we will give you the connection string. But this is now a local one that is going to be generated for this specific instantiation of this project, and the database will be saved here. So when I'm going to be running here my migration script, then I'm going to be using and creating my data tables in that database that you see there. And then on my startup, what do I see? So in my startup, I can already see that I'm now registering the DB context called application DB context here that will be instantiated here and passed back to my controllers when it is instantiated. And you can see that I'm also adding a default identity. And what I can also change here now is, you know, when somebody logs in or registers when you register for an application as a user, very often, you know, you'll put in a username and password, but then you are sent an email, and the email then will confirm that yes, that is your email address. Now it's set here to true. So if we leave this to true, we will have to incorporate this email interaction into our application. And for now, we don't want to do that. We just want to use false because you know, it's just simpler for our case now. I just want to demonstrate to you how it works. And if I don't change this to false, I'm going to actually not be able to sign in and log in afterwards because of this problem. Okay, so I've changed that in here, and you can then see you are using a connection, the DB context session to your database, which is using your default connection that is in the app settings, and you are using this identity framework. And so this is your configure services that you use then to register service into the dependency injection container. Right, and the rest of these you know, configurations that are sitting here are the standard ones that we use when we are invoking our application. Right, so let's see what happens when I execute this. So now you can see I haven't done anything yet. I've actually just let's see, this is what I will see. And so what you see here is the view has been created for you. Okay, so you have these options that you can see. There's not much pages going on, but what I do have available is I can now register somebody. So let us say that I'm going to register a user. I'm going to choose a long, nice password that will follow the conventions. It has to be more than 8 characters. And all different types of capitals and so forth. And I'm going to register. Okay, so what happens now is, you know, I'm registering somebody now, but the database has not been created. I have not executed the migration yet. So remember, what is migration? Migration is saying I have in my application, I am using, you know, the packages I showed you, the assemblies that are there. They contain things like, you know, classes that are available. And from that, I want to actually create database tables where my username and passwords can be stored. Now, I'm now trying to access that and it's not available. So it says here to me that, you know, the application DB context has to be created and applied. So what we now can do is we can, you know, it's very clever. It tells us you must do your migrations. If you don't want to do the migrations here, you then have to go into your package manager console and, like before, update the database. Or you can also then do that command there. That will also do the same thing for you. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to just say apply migrations here. Now the script is going to run that I showed you just now, and in the background it's going to create the database that I can use. So I'm not going to worry about that now. And if I now refresh the page, now I'm back and you can see it actually went and actually created me, and there I am, you know. So I'm now logged into my application. I can log out, I can log in again, and I can log in, and there I am. And you can create another user. So within 10 minutes, we've actually managed to create a whole web application. We've enabled a user account management where you can log in, you can register. I've actually gone and I've created my little database that's local on my computer with that migration script. And from here, I can now continue like we did before. You can now have your database with your category, zone, and devices tables. you can, use that database, and then you can from there create controllers, and then you can start creating pages that you can then view those database tables through. And that is the application that we will provide to you. Right. So that is then all from my side in terms of this demo. And so now you know how to do this quickly, and you can go and do it yourself and see how it works. So to create such a page is really not complicated. And like I say, we will provide to you the foundation for Project 3 on the repo in Project 3's brief. You'll find it there.